Okay, y'all, I've hit all the recordings. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we're going to continue our study of paper 46, the local system headquarters. And we're actually on the next paragraph, but I'm going to tell you we're on paper 46, section 5, paragraph 1, and that's on 523 of the original book, point 4, paragraph 4. So let's say a little prayer and we will get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight. We thank you for this wonderful revelation. We thank you for the opportunity to share this with friends and families and relatives and everyone around the world. Pray that you'll open our hearts and minds that we might remember a little bit and share it with others. We thank you. We give you the praise in your son, Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. We were actually at the next paragraph. I'm going to back up one paragraph so this video makes sense from the start. So this is section 5, Jerusalem circles. And we talked about this a little bit last time. And this is the residential reservations assigned to the major groups of universal life are designated the Jerusalem circles. Those circle groups which find mention in these narratives are the following. Number 1, the circles of the sons of God. Number 2, the circles of the angels and higher spirits. Number 3, the circles of the universe age, including the creature trinitized sons not assigned to the Trinity teacher sons. 4, the circles of the master physical controllers. Those are important. 5, the circles of the assigned ascending mortals, including the midway creatures. 6, the circles of the courtesy colonies. And 7, the circles of the core of finality. And I'm going to go down one, wrong one. I'm going to go down one slide here, and that's what the circles look like. Last time I showed this, it's kind of hard to see this picture, so I'm going to swap out the share here and show you this a little closer. Okay. You see that a little bit better there?
Yeah.
Okay. And you'll notice here with where my mouse is moving, it says the circles of ascending mortals. You see this? And this describes this in this paper. And I wanted y'all to see this. These circles descend into the ground. Okay. But they talk about how you can go around on one of them has a promenade. I'll show you that in a minute. But each one can see the next one down. And it looks like these are descending circles, like you'd start at one and walk around and around and around and around, and you go lower and lower. And then down here, it says the model of Urantia. Another thing I wanted to show you about this, let me see if I can go over here first. Here we go. You see this one here? This is the circle of the sons of God. And up on this one, you can see how this one appears to stand up in the air, doesn't it? Right? And it reads, in case you can't read it on this little smaller screen, it says the mansion world teachers, the celestial overseers is the next level, the high commissioners, the next one, the most high assistants, and then there's the archangels, and then the brilliant evening star, and I can't read that.
Something
the
morning star.
Morning
Angel
star,
of
yeah.
morning star.
Bright and morning star. And
Right.
then it looks like Galatia or Galvalia or something like that headquarters. So I wanted to show you all of these. Notice this one looks like it's got trees around it or something. It's called a promenade. And this is the circles of the seraphim.
Seraphim.
Yeah. And this one down here underneath it is the circles of the finalators. And I'm going to go across here to see the other one. And this is the circles of the master physical controllers. And let me read this one to you. It says Frandalanx and Chronodex. The next one's secondary disassociators. And the next one is primary associators. And then the one under that is the energy transformers. Transmitters, and then their energy transformers underneath that. And then underneath that is the mechanical controllers. And the last one would probably, I can't read it, but it should be the master physical controllers. I'm pretty sure that's what it says. And so this is the circles of the master physical controllers.
So
And the very
circles
last,
are not spheres, though.
no, they're not spheres. They're very, very large areas assigned on the planet for residences when these beings are
Oh,
on the
I
planet.
see. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And the last one is the plausible space allocation of the circles for the courtesy colonies. And this one looks like ascending pilgrim student visitors.
So, well, Roger,
I
would
can't remember.
would it be right to think of this like planet Earth? Let's say we have countries and buildings on countries and like, because there's a lot of space here, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of space. So they talk about in one, I can't remember the exact space, but it's, like 50 or 100 yards across, or 50 to 100 miles across, something like that. So these are huge circles,
Yeah.
residential areas.
And they could be far from each other.
Yeah, they can be far from each other. That's right. Yeah, he tried when he made this slide. He probably tried to get all of them in one slide, so you could kind
Yeah.
of get an overview, a good
Like,
idea.
if I
of
have
it.
to use my imagination, I can imagine, let's say, I don't know, one something on the globe compared to something else on the globe, very far away. Of course, there is a lot of order here because they're not subject to earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruption.
Right.
So there is a lot of order in the structures. But for my imagination, I have to look at it kind of geographically, that they have space and structure.
Yeah, yeah. They, if you could get above them and look at them, they would look more like, well, let's go back to the other slide for a second. Let me stop the share again here. It's really weird when I stop the share, it goes to a different area, so I have to find it again. We look at the original slide. I brought it up on the web page so I can make it bigger. But if you look at the original slide, you can see that some of them look like they're indicating that they're going down in the ground, like this one and this one, right?
Yeah.
Possibly this one and this one. And 3 of them look like they're coming up from the ground.
But this
like
is this a description in the UB book, or is it the artist's interpretation?
Well, I think it is a little bit of both. It's description in the UB book, but it's also his interpretation of what they're trying to describe to us.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And after preparing the thing for the introduction to the Urantia book, I was telling Diane a couple days ago that after reading some of the stuff I've discovered and doing the research for the introduction, I put these slides in our version of the book back in 2011. Okay. And that's when I made the slides also, because I was creating the slides as I was getting ready to teach each paper. Right. So I'd create a new slide and then I'd add the pictures and that sort of thing. And I got to thinking after reading the stuff on the introduction to the Urantia book, how adamant the midwayers were about not adding anything to the book. I told Diane, I said, I wonder if I should have even added the pictures to the book, the online version, because I didn't want to cheapen the book in any way. I just wanted to make it more understandable. And some people relate to pictures better than they do text. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I put the pictures in there. And then I told her that, I may have made a mistake in doing that. I don't know. We didn't have any medwares around that told me to do this or not to do it. So, it's not like I could stop it. But I was just thinking about what they told Bill Sadler Jr. when he got ready to do the introduction for the introduction, right? And they literally told him to knock it off.
Hmm.
So who knows how they feel about this, but I relate better sometimes to pictures than I do text, so that I thought this was appropriate for people that had a hard time understanding what they were talking about, so you could just call these artist renditions of these, I guess, better than anything. But we're going to go on here and go on with the text, try to get some more of this done. Okay, and this is going to explain all these things we're just looking at. Okay, so might make it a little more clear. Let's start out with you tonight, dear. Okay.
I love the pictures because it gives you things to think about in your mind. It expands your consciousness and awareness of the organization. I just wanted to say that. Each of these residential groupings consists of 7 concentric and successfully elevated circles. They are all constructed along the same lines, but are of different sizes and are fashioned of differing materials. They are all surrounded by far-reaching enclosures, which mount up to form extensive promenades entirely encompassing every group of 7 concentric circles.
Okay, if you notice in this particular paragraph, it says that these circles are successively elevated circles. Now, does that mean all the circles are elevated, or does it mean they're just elevated in the way they sit? So that's why I don't know if some of these are actually in the ground, and some of them are above the ground. I can't tell you for sure.
Floating too.
Huh?
They could be floating.
They could be floating too. We don't know for sure, but it's just a rendition of what it might possibly be. And some of them may be in the ground, some of them may be above the ground, but we know each level is elevated from the one below it. That's the important thing here.
How nice. They are probably beautiful.
Yeah, I bet
I'm
it's
sure
just
they are.
amazing to see,
Yeah.
right? And it's interesting to see they are all surrounded by far-reaching enclosures, which mount up to form extensive promenades. So in other words, the top of them are extended out so they can have, trees and bushes.
Beautiful,
Yeah, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. People to gather and walk around, that sort of thing. So, but each one of them have the 7 concentric circles. That's the important thing here, right?
Roger,
Okay. Yeah.
if say one of them, or maybe more, are 100 miles wide.
Yeah. Right.
Each of the 7 levels would be approximately 14 miles in width.
Yes. Yeah. If that's the case, Rodney, it may tell us how wide they are. I don't really remember. Like I said, some of these meetings I have time to review the slides. I haven't read in a while, and today I didn't. I've had a really rough day today, so I didn't get a chance to reread the slides before the meeting. So we might discover that as we read them tonight. So sometimes I have to wing it because of my healthcare stuff. So y'all know how that goes.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
yes. 1. Circles of the sons of God. Though the sons of God possess a social planet of their own, one of the transitional culture worlds, they also occupy these extensive domains on Jerusalem. On their transitional culture world, the ascending mortals freely mingle with all orders of divine sonship. There you will personally know and love these sons, but their social life is largely confined to this special world and its satellites. In the Jerusalem circles, however, these various groups of sonship may be observed at work. And since Urantia vision is of enormous range. You can walk about on the sun's promenades and overlook the intriguing activities of their numerous orders.
Okay, so y'all will have to picture this. All the different orders of sonship, the Leninondex suns, the Verandadex suns, the material suns, all of them have their own worlds, which have satellites. Okay, and that would be their home world. But when they're on Jerusalem and working, that sort of thing, they provide them with residences so they can go, each night and rest, recuperate, whatever. And it's the same way with all orders of beings, including ascending mortals. So when they talk about the circles of the ascending mortals, if you visit Jerusalem, even if it's like overnight or whatever, they will assign you a resting place, which would be in one of these circles, probably. Okay, so it's amazing how the order of the universe provides every possible need you could want. Okay, so when you go to visit Jerusalem the first few times, and if you decide to spend the night, they have accommodations for you to go rest or sleep or whatever you do to recuperate as a ascending mortal. And they do the same things for all the various orders of the sons of God. So some of these residences they're talking about would be temporary residence, and some of them would be permanent residences. Okay, so it's the way the universe provides for all beings a place to feel like we belong, right? Okay, so that's really nice. But to be able to, because of our extended vision, be able to look over the edge of these things and look down, we can see the things, everyone working, because why? There are no roofs. Okay, so all these residences, you can look down and see them work and all that stuff. So it's kind of interesting. This is kind of an interesting picture here. This is the circles of the sons of God. Okay, and this one reads, let me see if I can see it here. Oh, let me go on this other one. Give me a second. You can see the circles of the sons of God. These circular reservations of suns occupy an enormous area, and until 1900 years ago, there existed a great opening space at its center. This central region is now occupied by the Michael Memorial, completed some 500 years ago, 495 years ago, when this temple was dedicated. Michael was present in person, and all Jerusalem heard the touching story of the master's bestowal on Urantia, the least of Satania.
Wow.
Pretty amazing, isn't it?
Could you imagine?
Yeah. And let me read the sons here, because you can't read it in this slide probably. Circles of the sons of God. The ascending sons, the next one's the life carriers, the Leninondex sons, the Verandadex sons, the Melchizedek sons, the Trinity teacher sons, and the magisterial sons. And right in the center is the Michael Memorial. Pretty amazing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This one. And hit this one here. All right. Jane, would you take the next one, please?
The seven circles of the suns are concentric and successively elevated, so that each of the outer and larger circles overlooks the inner and smaller ones, each being surrounded by a public promenade wall. These walls are constructed of crystal gems of gleaming brightness and are so elevated as to overlook all of their respective residential circles. The many gates, from 50 to 150,000, which penetrate each of these walls, consist of single pearly crystals. There are pearly gates.
Yeah, there are pearly gates. The other interesting thing about this is this. Notice it says here from 50 to 150,000 gates, right? That'd take up a lot of room, wouldn't it? 150,000 gates. So these things, some of them must be really, really huge.
Wow, this is awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
Roger,
Yeah.
the last slide showing the Michael Memorial, obviously the memorial is probably extremely beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's just hard to imagine.
Wow. This
Instead of
whole thing.
that column that was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that doesn't do it any good at all. Yeah, Gary.
No. Who knows
do we
how they
have-
worship there? This has a feeling of extreme holiness and
Well, it makes the circles themselves feel like a oneness with the Michael Memorial, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Gary, what were you going to say?
Why do we have the three concentric circles symbolizing Urantia when it seems like it should be 7 concentric circles?
Because the three concentric circles represent God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit.
Okay.
Okay,
The
that's what. Yeah, it's called the banner of Michael because that's the representation. Michael is the representation of the Trinity itself on our local universe. Okay, so the reason Michael used the three concentric circles was to indicate that he totally followed and believed the Trinity concept, not only as reality. Where when Lucifer went in rebellion, his banner was the dragon and one black circle with one red circle with a black circle in the middle. I think it was one red circle with a black circle in the middle, or just opposite. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he used that banner instead of the banner of the Trinity. So what Lucifer was basically stating is the fact that he did not believe that the Trinity was real.
Mhm.
So that's why Michael used the banner of the Trinity, and that's why we have these little things. I don't know if you can see that, right? Everybody see
Mhm.
that? My little emblem. It's got the three concentric circles in it. Let me give this. Same thing
Mhm.
on my ring. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the banner of the Trinity. Okay, or the banner of Michael. All right, let's go on to the next one. And this is, let me go down here again so I can see it too. This is just a picture of the circles of the sons of God from above. Okay, and I don't know if you can read the captions. It has the life carriers again, the Lanandex, the Verandadex, the Melchizedek, the Trinity teacher sons, the magisterial sons, and of course the Michael Memorial in the center. It's interesting how they go from on the top rim is the lowest orders, and the bottom one is the highest orders, right? And
Well,
I kind of wonder what
they have the best view.
they
down
had the
low.
best view. That's right. I kind of wonder why the magisterial sons is not above the Trinity teacher sons, and the Trinity teacher sons being the lower one. I'm not sure.
Maybe the view's a little better up there.
I don't know. Maybe so. Okay, and this is another picture of it. And this one, he put the little picture indicators that represented what he tried to do is a representation of each type of son of God. And of course, the life carriers are at the top again, and then the each one goes down successively. Kind of interesting. I mean, the guy's was a very good artist, any way you look at it. You know?
Mm.
Is there less of them the lower you go down?
Yeah, I would think so, Jane, because the higher orders of being, there's going to be lesser of those in the universe, the system capital at one time, right?
Oh, that's logical.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because as you go down, there's less space, so there's less.
Yeah,
So the lesser should be at the bottom.
that's right. That's right. That's interesting. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Jane, did you just read or
I
I
think
did.
she did.
I
okay,
did.
Gary,
Yeah.
would you take the next one, please?
Mhm. I should have shut up. See,
Mm-hmm.
the first circle of the domain of the sons is occupied by the magisterial sons and their personal staffs. Here center all of the plans and immediate activities of the bestowal and adjudication services of this judicial sons. It is also through this center that the avonals of the system maintain contact with the universe.
That's interesting. And you'll notice that it talks about them being the avonals. The avonals are the magisterial sons, and it's the magisterial sons that call people do the resurrections every 1,000 years and magistrate the planet every 1,000 years or so, and bring up the sleeping survivors. So that's the highest, I guess you'd say, job of the universe, according to us, because we're ascending mortals. So they are the ones that calls them the ascending mortals, and they're the judicial. So they do adjudication of sleeping mortals to verify them to go on to the mansion world. So that's the domain of the magisterial sons. Okay.
I wonder how long that actually takes. I wonder if it's in the blink of an eye. Or is
The calling up is probably the blink of an eye, but it's not. I'm sure it takes a long time to process all the millions of individuals that have to be awakened on the mansion worlds. You know what I'm
what I'm
saying?
kind of concerned with, as long as they've taken to adjudicate Lucifer, how long will it take to adjudicate millions of ascending mortals?
Well, it must not take that long, Gary, because they do this every 1,000 years or every millennium or so, right? So it may take that long a period of time to process that many people, and the problem with this is this. We get from the New Testament this idea of a resurrection where Jesus is going to come back and take all the dead and going to empty the planet type thing, right? That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen at all. There will be no time when you're sitting there and half the people disappear. That would cheat them out of their normal human life, wouldn't it? And if it's important enough for the creator son to come down and live an entire life, right? To even experience death, he's not going to cheat millions of people out of the opportunity to experience death once. You only get one opportunity to experience death, and that's in this lifetime. Okay. So that is an important part of living. So if you're waiting for the rapture, you're going to be waiting for a long, long, long time. Because what I'm telling you is this: the rapture will not happen. The resurrection,
there'd be one way to stay
of
here
the dead does happen. Okay. And it happens about every 1,000 years ago, each 1,000 years. They resurrect the sleeping survivors, unless it's a special resurrection like they had for Adam and Eve and their family. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. So all these movies that's come out about the rapture, as Roger says, ain't gonna happen, right?
Science fiction.
Science fiction. Okay. That's and they get that from the concepts of the men back during the Old and New Testament, right? That's where that comes from. Okay. And all these preachers are going, oh my gosh, did he really say that? Yes, he really said it. Okay. So I own up to it. Okay. Let's go on. The second circle. Let me read this one since we got so few people here. The second circle is occupied by the Trinity teacher sons. In this sacred domain of the Daniels and their associates carry forward the training of the newly arrived primary teacher sons. And all of this work, they are ably assisted by a division of certain coordinates of the brilliant evening stars. The creature trinitized sons occupy a sector of the Daniel circle. The Trinity teacher sons come the nearest to being the personal representatives of the universal Father in the local system. They are at least Trinity origin beings. This second circle is the domain of extraordinary interest to all the peoples of Jerusalem because they represent the Father, right? Okay. Diane, would you take the next one, please, dear?
I was going to read that. The third circle is devoted to the Melchizedeks. Here the system chiefs reside and supervise the almost endless activities of these versatile sons. From the first of the mansion worlds on through all the Jerusalem career of ascending mortals, Melchizedeks are foster fathers and ever-present advisors. It would not be amiss to say that they are the dominant influence on Jerusalem, aside from the ever-present activities of the material sons and daughters.
You know, it's funny when you first start reading this book, it's kind of hard to keep all these sons separate, right, and in order. But the more you read them, it just becomes second nature to you, you know. So when I think of Melchizedek's sons, I think of the highest order of sonship in the local universe. Okay, because really they teach everybody. They even teach the Lenonondex and the Verondadeks when they're first created, you know. So the Melchizedeks is like the big daddies, right? They are everyone's father. They're one of the fathers of the local universe. So that's what they're talking about here. And they literally run almost everything in the universes, which is very important. All right.
It's comforting too.
Comforting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Go back over here on this one. Okay, Rodney.
Yes. The fourth circle is the home of the Veronideks and all other orders of the visiting and observer sons who are not otherwise provided for. The Most High constellation fathers take up their abode in this circle when on visits of inspection to the local system. Perfecters of wisdom, divine counselors, and the universal censors all reside in this circle when on duty in the system.
Okay, so the most highs of the constellation, the fathers of the most highs of the constellation, those are the Verondadeks. Okay. And when the traveling courts of the universes are on Jerusalem, they reside with the Most Highs, and those are the perfecters of wisdom, the divine counselors, and your universal censors. All three of these are required to have a court. Okay, so they are like a judicial system in all the universe to make decisions on things that come up that people have problems in resolving. Okay, so that's the traveling courts, if you would. Okay, let's go to the next one. Jane, would you take the next one, please?
The fifth circle is the abode of the Lenonondex, the sonship order of the system sovereigns and the planetary princess. The three groups mingle as one when at home in this domain. The system reserves are held in the circle, while the system sovereign has a temple situated at the center of the governing group of the structures on Administration Hill.
So this would be our Lana Forge, our system sovereign, right? And all his his 7 staff, you know, or all the Lanadondex sons of administration would all have residences in this, on this circle. Okay. So very important circle.
Well, there's a hill there because it says administration.
Yeah, there's an administration hill. That'd probably be where their offices are, right? The main office of the system. All right. Let's see, Gary, would you take the next one? You got a short one this time.
I'm saying nothing. The 6th circle is the terrain place of the system, life carriers. All orders of these sons are here assembled, and from here they go forth on their world assignments.
Okay, so the life carriers, we know what the life carriers are, right? These are the beings that carry life to a planet and planet into the seas, and then they hang out for hundreds of thousands, even millions of years while this life develops into eventually a human being, right? And when a human being appears, then a couple of them stay and the rest of them leave, right? So a couple of them stay assigned to the planet. So this is for the life carriers. I'm sure there's billions of those. All right. The 7th circle. I guess I might back up again, huh? The 7th circle is the rendezvous of the ascending suns. These assign mortals who may be temporarily functioning on the system headquarters together with their seraphic consorts. All ex-mortals above the status of Jerusalem citizens and below that of finaliters are reckoned as belonging to this group, having its headquarters in this circle. So this is where, as we go up through the system from the mansion worlds to the system capital and eventually onward, this is where we'll be resident during that period of time. Okay.
I like the way they refer to all ex-mortals.
Ex-mortals. Yeah.
So
So
they
we
would
go-
have had to go up to the major sectors?
Yeah, well, minor sectors well, if we're ex-mortals, then we would be considered spirits, first stage spirits, and that happens when we move into the minor sectors out of the local universe. So anytime those beings would come back to the system headquarters they would be put here. Plus the fact that this is where, if for some reason during your training, you get assigned to Jerusalem for any period of time, it may be where they house you. Okay. Temporary residence there. Okay. Okay, here we go. Next one. Diane, you're back up again. Okay.
These circular reservations of the suns occupy an enormous area, and until 1900 years ago, there existed a great open space at its center. This central region is now occupied by the Michael Memorial, completed some 500 years ago. 495 years ago, when this temple was dedicated, Michael was present in person, and all Jerusalem heard the touching story of the Master's son's bestowal on Urantia, the least of Satania. The Michael Memorial is now the center of all activities embraced in the modified management of the system, occasioned by Michael's bestowal, including most of the more recently transplanted Salvington activities. The memorial staff consists of over 1 million personalities.
Wow.
That's a lot of people.
It tells you how big the space is.
You're muted.
I said this is the same picture again. Inside this space, there's over 1 million personalities that make this stuff run. Okay. In the Michael Memorial. Okay.
You can liken that to 1 million people making Disneyland run.
Right.
Yeah.
What if they got rides there? Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Yes, 2. The circles of the angels. Like the residential area of the sons, these circles of the angels consist of 7 concentric and successfully elevated circles, each overlooking the inner areas.
Okay, so this is 7 circles of all the different levels of the angels, right? And we looked at that just a minute ago. So I'm not going to belay that. Let's go on to the next one. Jane, would you take this one, please?
The first circle of the angels is occupied by the higher personalities of the infinite spirit, who may be stationed on the headquarters world, solitary messengers and their associates. The second circle is dedicated to the messenger hosts, technical advisors, companions, inspectors, and recorders, as they may chance to function on Jerusalem from time to time. The third circle is held by the ministering spirits of the higher orders and groupings.
Okay, do you notice here that they're talking about the first circle being from first circle down to, what is it, the third circle? These are all higher beings created by the infinite spirit himself, right?
Mhm.
And then the other ministering spirits from the third down would be more like the local universe, mother spirits, angels, right? I want to point that out. So these, like the higher personalities of the infinite spirit and the solitary messengers and technical advisors, those are all high order infinite spirit beings. Okay, so they would be created by the infinite spirit itself, and the others may be created by the local universe mother spirit. Okay,
They're in good company.
they'd be in good company, right? Okay, Gary, would you take the next one, please?
The fourth circle is held by the administrator seraphim and the seraphim serving in the local system, like Satania, are an innumerable host of angels. The fifth circle is occupied by the planetary seraphim, while the sixth is a home of the transition ministers. Seventh circle is the terrene sphere of certain unrevealed orders of seraphim. The records of all these groups of angels do
Recorders.
the recorders of all these groups of angels do not sojourn with their fellows, being domiciled in the Jerusalem Temple of Records. All records are preserved in triplicate in this threefold hall of archives. On a system headquarters, records are always preserved in material, in Urantia, and in spirit form.
To catch that, they
Mhm.
record everything in a physical form, a Marancha form, and a spirit form. Every record.
Mm.
Okay. And this is where talk about the fourth circle, but it's also the home of, notice here it says unrevealed orders of seraphim, right? So there's a whole host of beings that they never mention in the Urantia book. So when you get there, the only ones they talk about are those beings that are associated with our ascension plan. Okay. So when they made the Urantia book, they kept it limited to things associated with us, not things that we didn't, that do not concern us. So if you think about it this way, when they started the revelation for this planet, when they started to reveal things for you to know, they picked out things that are germane to your own ascension. So do you think reading the Urantia book is important?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
But
about you.
remember, it's a
That's right.
primer. It's not complete.
That's right. It's
doesn't
just the
co-
primer, right? It's the kindergarten manual. That's what I keep
Mhm.
calling it, right? It's the first step. We got to learn a lot more when we get there.
101.
101. That's right. Okay. Guess I'm back up again. Huh? These 7 circles are surrounded by exhibit panorama of Jerusalem. 5,000 standard miles in circumference. Y'all catch that? The exhibit of Jerusalem itself is 5,000 standard miles in circumference,
Huh.
which is what?
Devoted.
3.
Oh,
It would be 3 times. What is it? 3 times? I don't remember the calculation. 3 times that of ours. So it would be what, 15,000 miles for us? So
phew.
pretty big. Yeah. Which is devoted to the presentation of the advanced status of the peoples of the worlds of Satania. It is constantly revised so as to truly represent up-to-date conditions on the individual planets. I do not know that this vast, I do not, I doubt that this vast promenade overlooking the circles of angels will be the first sight of Jerusalem to claim your attention when you are permitted to extend your leisure on the earlier visits. Now think about this. If the promenade, the panorama of Jerusalem is 5,000 miles in circumference.
Roger,
Okay.
what it says standard miles of
Yes.
what is the standard mile?
Well, the standard mile, that's what I'm saying. I got that all in on our website. The standard
Right.
mile Jerusalem miles compared to Earth miles. So
Or
I'm not going to go look it up, but you
I
can look it up,
understand.
multiply it out if you want. But you think about it this way. If the circumference is 5,000 standard miles, inside of it, think of how much space that is.
Oh my God.
And that's just this one set of circles. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. I don't remember the exact size, but these things are huge. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, it'd have to be, you know.
beyond imagination, wouldn't it?
Well, it's beyond our imagination anyway.
Yeah.
Everything, the size.
Yeah, it really is. So these are pretty big. So, and in that area is a representation of the entire local universe of Nebadon.
Um,
That gives you, go ahead.
um, the worlds of Satania,
Satania. Yeah. Is it
just
Satania?
of the system.
Just the worlds of Satania. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
misquoted. I'm glad
Yet
you
the
caught that, Rodney. Yeah.
present time is how many worlds?
619
Okay. My
when the
God.
paper was done, right?
Oh.
There could be more. Now, you know, I doubt that there's that many more in the last 100 years. You know,
Is it saying they're spheres to represent?
yes, there's spheres to represent every planet.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, so it'd be like
that's wild.
a huge, what do you call those things?
Panorama.
Yeah, it's
Circular.
a sample of everything. So it'd
Yeah.
be 619 planets as of, y'all think about this. If the first paper was read to the forum in 1924, guess what's coming up next year?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
100-year anniversary
Anniversary.
since the paper was given to us,
Oh,
right?
true.
Since it began, yeah.
Yeah, since it began, right? Kind of interesting. All right, and here is a picture of just what we were talking about. And this promenade here, all
Prominent.
around here, this is what they're talking about. Okay. And all these little things out here are the planets that the representation of the system of Satania. Kind of interesting, isn't it?
Look like trees.
Huh?
Look like trees.
Look like trees, doesn't it? Well, there
Yeah,
are
look-
trees. There are trees there, right?
Not so trees.
Yeah,
Hmm.
this is the one of the seraphim. I'm misquoted.
And there's people walking around the promenade.
Yeah, yeah. You can walk all the way around it. So it's
Or
different
beings.
things, not the same thing. Okay.
I think I'd take a scooter around. I don't have that much energy.
Hmm.
I think you need something a little bit faster than the scooter for that.
Yeah.
Okay, and this one says, let me read this to y'all. The circles of the angels, like the residential areas, the sun, these circles of the angels consist of 7 concentric and successively elevated circles, each overlooking the inner areas. You know, it's kind of interesting. Maybe the reason this guy made some of these look like they're going down into the to the planet, and some of them look like they're going above. Maybe that's because that was his concept from reading this, is the way it would have to look, you know. So, but they all can successfully go down, because on this picture, let me see if I can read it to you. The unrevealed seraphim, transitional midwayers, planetary helpers, administrator seraphim, ministering spirits, messenger host, and I cannot read the last.
White. There's no
I-
contrast.
I can't read the last one because it's in white. So let's go on. Right, sweetie, I think you're up.
These exhibits are in charge of the native life of Jerusalem, but they are assisted by the ascenders from the various Satania worlds who are tarrying on Jerusalem en route to Urantia. The portrayal of planetary conditions and world progress is affected by many methods, some known to you, but mostly by techniques unknown on Urantia. These exhibits occupy the outer edge of this vast wall. The remainder of the promenade is almost entirely open, being highly and magnificently embellished. Wow.
So that means there'd be lots of
Very beautiful.
greenery,
Yeah.
trees, bushes,
beautiful.
animals, things like that. All right. Rodney, I think you're up again.
3. The circles of the universe aids have the headquarters of the evening stars situated in the enormous central space. Here is located the system headquarters of Galantia.
Galantia.
Galantia,
Yeah.
the associate head of this powerful group of super angels, being the first commissioned of all the ascendant evening stars. This is one of the most magnificent of all the administrative sectors of Jerusalem, even though it is among the more recent constructions. The center is 50 miles in diameter. The Galatia headquarters is a monolithic cast crystal. Wow. Wholly transparent. These material Urantia crystals are greatly appreciated by both Urantia and material beings. The created evening stars exert their influence all over Jerusalem, being possessed of such extra personality attributes. The entire world has been rendered spiritually fragrant since so many of their activities were transferred here from Salvington.
Okay, so there's where I got that 50-mile thing, and I guess that's on the very bottom part of it, right?
Well-
And extends out from there.
That's
Okay,
a
and this,
crystal.
yeah, really, if you think about it. So this is the circle of the universe age, and the headquarters for Galantia itself. He is the very first evening star to make this, that was created and make the progress of this local system. So, all right, and here's a picture of it, right? And on this one, this is the you can see the mansion world teachers, the celestial overseers, the high commissioners, the most high assistants, the archangels, the brilliant evening stars, and spirit of the morning star. And there's Galatia headquarters. That's that crystal right in the middle. You see that thing right in the middle of that thing? So it's supposed to be a representation of that. Okay, and this is another view of it. Let me see if there's anything on this I need to mention too. It just repeats the same thing, and that middle crystal is the crystal they're talking about. Okay. Hey, how are we doing on time? Ooh, we're almost out of time. Okay, I think I'll stop there, and we'll take up the master physical controllers next time. I'll tell you what, let me stop the recording and everything. We need to discuss when we're going to have the meetings for the rest of the year and types of things. So let me stop there, and we will see everybody next time. Let's have a little short prayer, and then we will close out for tonight. Rodney, would you like to close us in prayer tonight?
Gracious Heavenly Father, we're thankful for the opportunity to meet and for us to learn about Jerusalem, the circles on Jerusalem. We thank you for Roger's ability to explain this to us more in depth. And hopefully we can explain this to our relatives and friends. And we say all of this in the name of your Son, Michael of Nebadon, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen. Let me stop the recording here real quick.